Hey, what's up? What's up, everybody? How y'all doing? How y'all doing? It's me, Royal, and I want to thank y'all for tuning in to the Until We're All Free Community Hall. We got some real good news coming up. We got a special guest joining us. I wanted to share with y'all that, myself and our volunteers at Until We're All Free attended a town hall, this past week on Wednesday on the 9th in Pleasant Valley to get our citizens' civil rights resolution presented to the town board. And it included some of our demands. And, one of those demands were to denounce racism, right? 2020, we're still having to call for that, right? Because there's some type of not understanding that, racism is bad, right? And being racist isn't good, right? So we're still having to demand that today. And we did that. A part of my volunteers and some people within the activist community also helped us. And it was a huge victory. And we gained overwhelming support, actually. It was amazing, right? Like how people just felt so compelled, to stand up and be heard in agreement with our civil rights and citizens review resolution. And a lot of people from Pleasant Valley of all races and backgrounds just felt so compelled on the spot to have their voices also be heard and as well demand that racism be denounced in their town that they call home, by the Pleasant Valley Town Board. It turned out that the town board actually voted unanimously. They took a vote on the spot, and the vote was unanimous to denounce racism. So, big ups to all the hard work that our volunteers put out, and the people that showed up and showed support. Who, like I said, is a special guest coming on. And that we all showed up. I made the call to action, and our volunteers put that call out, and so many people echoed that call, and our voices were heard, and action was taken, and it worked out. It was a success. It was a win. We got a win that day, and for the town board to on the spot unanimously denounce racism. Wow, after what occurred here, you think that would be a given, but it wasn't. So our team at Until We're All Free made some calls to action, and people signed the petition. We had over 250 people sign the petition, which is amazing. I thank you all for the support. We here at Until We're All Free really couldn't have done it without the support of all of you. It takes us all. It's going to take every last one of us. So, and if you're looking for a place, and want to join us and for this fight and future calls to action, right there is the link for untilwe'reallfree.org/join. Join us. And the remainder of the resolution has been tabled. So there wasn't, the full board is of five members, and not all five were present. The fifth remainder person that wasn't present, they asked that the meeting not have the vote while they're not present, and to wait. So the board said, okay, we'll table it until they are ready to, come back from, I think they said, and I quote, a family illness, emergency family illness. So when they come back, they will have the vote be drawn on the resolution and the review of the citizen civil right resolution. So join us, join that email listing, so future actions can be sent directly to you, so you can be a part of Until We're All Free and moving forward with future calls to action. Because there will be many more. There's a lot of work to do, and it's going to take us all. It's going to take every last one of us to be a part of this. Okay, in unity, we can do this together. All right. And without further ado, somebody who I've known for a while now. I met them out protesting. We clicked from the get go. They have such a beautiful soul, and it shines, right through them. And they're very good people, and I appreciate their support. They've been supporting me since day one. Before I started the nonprofit, they're a part of Until We're All Free. I would like to invite Marissa. Yes. She's a local Black activist who attended the rally in Pleasant Valley and is also around at many other events in support of Black lives and liberation for people. And she spoke in support of our citizens' resolution on Wednesday at the Pleasant Valley Town Hall. I would like to bring her into the Until We're All Free Community Hall to share a little bit of her story. What's up, Marissa?
Hey guys, how's everybody? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Royal, for inviting me. Thank you, Janelle, for giving me some time in your organization. I truly appreciate it. Welcome, everybody. Thank you just for having me here. And Royal's absolutely right. Like, we met at a anti-Trump rally, and anyone that does an anti-Trump anything is now my BFF. So now it's lifelong. So it was great. I got to give my middle fingers to the to the powers that be. So lifelong. So yeah. So thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. My mom, that's my mom, Mary Parker. She said, "Thank you for speaking up." We thank you, and we thank you for showing up for us that day. What made you want to come out? What made you think that this was a good call to action for you to have your time spent?
Well, I was there at Pleasant Valley, the Pleasant Valley March in July of July 18th, 2020. And what I saw was beyond what you see on TV. It went beyond the violence that you would see in Oregon or, Michigan, places, Wisconsin, places like that. It was right in my face. It was forefront. And I felt that not so much what I saw was traumatic, but for the town to understand that you can't no longer cover up the racism that you see that is there. It's no longer an underlying low hum of racism that has always been the Hudson Valley. It's now in the streets. It's now the people that work in the businesses and the schools of the town that's pouring out this violence and this anger. So I felt it was important to be there and to let the town officials know that somebody that was there that's not from that town experienced this, and someone that was there that's not from this town was able to reach out to other people that weren't from that town and to show them that their town is indeed as racist as the TV says they are. So it was important that they know that, because so many times these politicians think that, oh, it's not my town, it's not us, it's not my people. But until you get the voice from the person that was there, they weren't going to fully understand the scope of what was going on until they saw it in front of their faces. So that's why it was important to me, because they had to see it, they had to know it. And of course, to back my comrades. I mean, Royal, Janelle, I mean, you're people that are on the front lines, and we have to back each other as best as we can. In the way that things are dying down and the way people are starting to get their own sides, we have to stick together. And it's important that no matter what town we live in or what background we come from, we have to be there for each other. So that's why it was important for me to be there.
You've experienced a bit of racism in the Hudson Valley. I remember when, I had the call to action to see if there were any people in the Hudson Valley that would like to be interviewed. And my comrade Raven, right? Raven from Spectrum News, yes. You have spoken with her. Would you like to share one of those experiences?
Yes, definitely. When I spoke to Raven, that was such a amazing experience to go back to the places that I've dealt with racism. And I grew up in the Hudson Valley my entire life, born and raised 4 generations. From, my grandfather and grandmother came from South Carolina and Augusta, Georgia. So it's been 4 generations of McClintons in this town. We have churches, we have buildings, we have businesses in this area. So we are established. We're roots here. So a lot of the things that I've experienced have been that underlying racism. It has been that people who are in positions of power, business owners and store owners and library workers and gas station employees, they will say something under their breath, or they will do something to you second-handedly. And I've also had the direct, where it's the middle fingers, go home N-word, or I've had been followed to work and been followed home. My mail has been tampered with. I've had things left on my vehicles, and I've been, even growing up as a child, I was called colored. You know, I've been called monkey by my coworkers, and you know, I've been called those names and seen those Confederate flags and had that racist banter in front of my face, been laughed at in front of my children, and people would, you know, see my daughter and see me, and my daughter's lighter skinned than I am, and she has blonde hair and blue eyes. That's just how she came out. And I would have people look in confusion, like, you know, is that your kid? Or they would talk to my little girl and say, little girl, where's your mom? And she, at 4 years old, will look up and say, that's my mom right there. What do you mean? So I've dealt with that. I've lived that. And the stories don't just end with 20 years ago or 15 years ago. These are current stories.
Yeah.
That Pleasant Valley March happened in July. So from there, I've had my mail tampered with and followed to work and followed home and have the notes left and the N-word, the middle finger. And just, it's blown my mind that the Hudson Valley is a beautiful place.
Yeah.
You know, when it comes to, you know, the scenery and things like that, it's a beautiful place and everybody wants to come here. But the ones who live here don't understand that the struggle here is truly a color issue. It's a heart issue. It's not just, oh, well, this is Hyde Park and that'll never happen here. Or, oh, this is Fishkill. It'll never happen here. Yeah, it will, because your issue is a soul issue. It's a heart issue. So you may tolerate brown people. And I've had that. I've been tolerated as a brown person, but I've never been accepted, never been congratulated, to have, you know, my works. And I never worked to look for the accolades, but I've done lots of things for my community. But to get that credit, like thank you, a simple thank you for giving somebody the clothes off your back, or to give a homeless person a meal and to still be called the N-word. You're homeless and you're hungry and I fed you, but I'm still your N-word, right? It's that makes the Hudson Valley an unequal place to live. Even now, I'm dealing with at my apartment. I have a landlord that's a Trump supporter, and I'm fighting with the Hudson Valley, what's it, Human Services Department against my landlord, because she tells me I can't have signs in my window. I have a sign that says vote. So how is that wrong for anybody? But she sent out an email to all tenants saying that grills and signs can't be outside, but she didn't send it to the white tenants, just me. Okay. So it's 2020, and we're living in a time where we still have to remind people that we're allowed to exist. I'm allowed to vote. I'm allowed to go to work. My kids are allowed to go to school. We're allowed to exist here. I'm a citizen. I'm a taxpayer. Yep. But just because I'm this color, to some people, we're not allowed to be here. So racism in the Hudson Valley is something that I've lived. I've had people come to me and say, oh, the racist generation is no longer alive. Well, my grandmother came from Augusta, Georgia, with stories of picking cotton. My grandfather had the whip lashes on his back, and he only died at 80 years old. So that generation is not dead, because our parents, our grandparents have those stories of picking cotton. So to live in this town, and I don't want to go over my time. I was already reprimanded by Pleasant Valley about my time. But to live in the Hudson Valley as a brown person, as a brown woman, or a brown man, or as a brown child, you're living. Sorry, that's my alarm. You're living in a segregationist era. Only, how do I want to say it? Only new age segregation. Because now we're allowed to be here and we're allowed to drink your water fountains, but we're not welcome. And that's my experience in the Hudson Valley. So, yes.
Yeah, you know, I can relate to a lot of what you said, but I think what really sticks out to me was the colorism.
Yes.
You know, just because somebody is lighter skinned, people feel as though that they are not black or brown or of a different ethnic race than white, right? And also I want to say this too. You know, I'm a firm believer in that we are a part of one race, and that's the human race, right? Yeah. You know, to put a color, right, on somebody is just, that's colorism.
Yes.
Like, honestly, like, you know, what's black? Like, black is black, like, or is it brown? Like you said, is it, you know? So yeah. I don't like to do that. And for a lot of my life, my mother, she's very fair skinned, right? Her skin complexion is quite light. Yes. But since I came out a little darker, right, on the spectrum, people would ask me the same thing, like, oh, so you must be mixed, right? Like you're half and half, right? Like I'm some type of like I'm some type of condiment or like drink or like some type of like, let me get a number 2, just leave out the ketchup or make like, you know, like it's not cool, you know, and try to like, you know, fit in too, right? You know, like I think, you know, whatever your kid's going through, I've been through that because it's like, so I don't fit in with the black people, I don't fit in with the white people, so I don't fit in with the Spanish people because I'm not Spanish. Like when we're all in this together, like once again, you know, I feel like we're all connected, and I feel that all of us in one way or another are affecting each other either directly or indirectly. So the harm you cause on me is going to come back onto you another way. You feel me? Like we need to be in here with love. You know me, love, unity, community, you know, nonviolence. Like, you know, that's what I'm about since day one. That's what we're about, you know, because to fight fire with fire is only going to create more fire, you know. If war, I always say this, if war was the answer, we'd be at peace.
Absolutely.
You know, how many times is it going to take for you to see that, you know, the way to win things is by being the bigger person, right? And I think it's important for the both of us, you know, to keep fighting on these front lines as Black people for change. You know, I don't think that ever needs to stop. People like us need to have our voices heard. People like us are valid. We have real stories. These things are truth, you know, and for people to sit there and not want to, you know, understand, like I know a lot of times if I say something, it might fall on deaf ears, but if a cis white male veteran says it, then it's like God's honest truth, you know. People really need to take into account that our stories and this stuff really happens. You know, what you're saying happens a lot to a lot of different people that look just like us. And some people that don't even look just like us, you know, like, right? Like I'm trans, right? I'm transgender. I got my own struggles, right? I got things that people don't get, like, you know, I've been being misgendered, right? And that's all the same type of level of this racism and this colorism. It's anti-LGBT. Like you're hating on me for being myself. You know, I can only be me.
That's right.
You know, like we wake up every day and we're Black.
That's right.
They wake up and put a uniform on and they get to take it off. It's a job, not a life.
Right.
You know, like these people, like, you know, I don't think everybody gets that. And I know somebody had a question, you know, I'm not sure if you want to answer it, but changing people's minds, right? Changing people's minds. How do we change people's minds? So you also touched on it, and I want to piggyback off that. It's in the heart. It's a matter of a heart. People's minds are programmed a certain way. But I know for me as a human, I have a heart, right? And it beats. And I am connected not only with my mind, but my heart and my body and my soul. It's on the inside. It's something about the inside. And I'm not here to make anybody change their mind, right? I can only be a powerful example and lead by that example and show them the kind of love and compassion and empathy and sympathy and tolerance that I would want somebody to have for me, you know, because I'm not perfect, right? I've made mistakes, okay? But when I was met with anger and hate and fear and retaliation, the response was more catastrophic rather than, you know, connective. Like where you know, like we're trying to form bonds, we're trying to build bridges here, you know. So to put up a wall on your heart and act like, you know, somebody can just change how you feel, you need to open yourself up and realize who you are and your being as a human being. What do you think about that? Do you think that you're out here to change people's minds? And if so, how can you?
Yes, and that's good. I did want to respond to that comment about, you know, you can't change their minds. Here's the thing, because like you said, changing of the mind comes with a changing of the heart. And a lot of people, I wouldn't say all, but a lot of people can't place themselves in the shoes of other people. So you may have a Black coworker or a Black niece or a Black granddaughter because your daughter mixed with somebody else or whatever. So now you have this colored person in your family or on your job or wherever. And you may say, oh, well, you know, killing Black people, that's just terrible because you're watching the news. You can't relate to that. But I always like to tell people, if your granddaughter, and this is what I told the Pleasant Valley, if I was your granddaughter, if I was your niece, or if I was your sister, or if I was even your mother or a friend of your child's best friend's kid, if I was there telling you the story of how I was spit on and how I had someone point in my face to call me a black bee, it puts more of a relation to it, because now I'm your friend, because now you're thinking about your niece. What if your niece came home to you and said, Auntie, this white man just called me a black bee and all I was doing was walking into the library? Or Grandma, this white man or this white lady came to me and spit in my cup only because I was walking into the gas station. It's simple, tiny stories like that I help people to relate. And it may not affect you. And yeah, a lot of these people, you're not going to change their minds because they're concrete, drink the Kool-Aid, we're not going to change, and that's it. But a lot of people don't understand. And that one man that I was talking about that said that the slave generation is no longer there. It took me one response. I said, listen, my grandmother, my grandfather, blah, 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 blah. And he was like, oh, I didn't think of it that way. That's something as simple as that. When you give somebody facts, when you give somebody cold, hard evidence from your life, from your experiences, it changes people's minds because they don't think. To them, it's not something that you know. It's on TV. It's in Oregon. It's in Wisconsin. But to find out that somebody in Pleasant Valley, New York, or Poughkeepsie, New York, or New Paltz, New York, a brick was thrown at them just because they were black.
Yep.
It puts reality to where they live. And that changes a lot of people's minds. We're not going to get everybody, but as long as you get one person and get that one person to go and tell 5 more people, or if you get that one child to see the Black Lives Matter mask, or the We Are Free t-shirt, or the Black Queen, Black Lives Matter t-shirt that you're wearing, to get one little kid to see that and turn to say, hey, Mom, what does that mean? It starts a conversation. Mm-hmm. So we're not going to fix everybody tonight. We might not fix anybody else for the next 4 or 5 years, but to start the conversation, you begin to discuss and you begin to exchange information, and that causes people to go to Google and to search things. What is Selma? What is Roots? What was Roots about? What is their plight? It gets the gears turning, and that's all we want to do. None of us. I'm not here. Royal's not here. Janelle's not here to go out there and change your mind, do something different. We're scary. No, we just want to talk about it so you can go talk about it.
Yeah,
and that's where it starts. That's where change starts.
Yeah. So, and like you said, looking up things. I'm an adamant, follower of the civil rights movement, and I feel like change happens slowly, right? And a lot of people feel like it's going to happen overnight, and while the road is going to be long, it's going to be hard, there's been progress that's been made, from the civil rights movement. Yeah. So we got to keep hopeful, right? And we gotta keep fighting on the front lines, right? People like us that look like us, right? We got to get out there. A Black trans veteran and a young Black woman like yourself who's a mother, we got to be out there on the front lines of these movements because, we're the ones fighting for what matters and ensuring the next generation of Black children that live in this country where we all belong. Because trust me, we all belong here. We all have the right. We need to be on the forefront, ensure that this community is where we all belong, right? Because we know what it's like to feel like we don't belong. And like you said, that kid, I remember, I wasn't that young, but I remember, me and my grandmother and pretty much my whole entire family. When Barack Obama got elected for president. Matter of fact, when Barack Obama was even like being considered to be elected for had a chance. Yes. Like the hope, the hope that gave people. Yes. And then his sign was a hope. I was just like, yo, my God, my grandmother's gonna see this. My God, this is just great. You couldn't I was so happy. I was so happy. She was in tears, our ancestors were smiling down on us, God is good, the universe, all our hard work. Look how far we've come. Yes. Yes. Look how far we've come. The president of the United States and one of the best ones I know of, it's just great. He is a sign of hope for the Black community.
Yes.
you know, and that's what and that's what we try to live up to. You know what I'm saying? Like Barack, like think about it. Like now that I'm thinking about Barack, like he didn't go out to try to change everybody's minds. His actions, the way he carried himself,
Yes.
the way he led this country,
Morals.
the way he treated people, the way when even though they was trying to get his birth certificates, he's like, okay, sure, like I'm not hiding anything. Like this black boogeyman thing, like I'm out here representing who I am wholeheartedly, and I'm a vision of hope. Like you can't stop me. And it changed people's minds, y'all. It changed people's hearts.
Yeah.
Just by his actions.
Yep.
I could imagine. Like, what was that like for you when you saw Barack win, like a black president?
Oh my God, it was different from me because, and not to give too much away from what I did with Raven on Spectrum, but I told her a story about how my grandfather, as a small child, told me to not trust white people. That's how I was brought up. And he never told me why until after he passed away was when I found out why. And that's when I began to see all the different uprisings and things. But to see Barack Obama be elected president and to just see his morals and his values, his family, and to hear about his wife going through law school, Harvard Law School, and he was a senator, and his children are going to Harvard, and they had this wholesome life. It wasn't this, all black dads leave and all black moms are ghetto. It wasn't the stigma that they put on black people anymore. It was, now we're allowed to be in the house that we built. Our ancestors built that house, and now we're allowed to live in it.
Right on.
Finally, we're allowed to walk inside the house that we put together. Yeah. It was, like you said, it was a sign of hope, but it showed me as I was still a little girl, even though I was in my 20s, I was still that little girl whose grandfather told her not to trust white people. I was still the little girl. And when my little girls were little girls, it showed them that despite what they say, despite what they try to do to you, despite what the lies they tell, despite all things, you can still step up and make it, despite what they told you couldn't. You can still stand there and say, yes, I can. Yes, we can. Yes, we will. And yes, we did. So everything, and it goes back to the poignant point that you made, that we're stepping up for a generation. John Lewis stepped up for us. Yeah. He said to get into good trouble, and he passed away, so he wasn't alive to see our speech in Pleasant Valley. Yeah. But he lived so we could make that speech in Pleasant Valley.
His spirit was there. We got in some good trouble that day.
That's right. Martin Luther King lived so we can stand and say, no, this is not what we're going to stand for. So we may not be able to fix anything today, but we live so our kids can live tomorrow. Hopefully my children can stand up when they're 20 and 30 and say, no, my mother didn't die for this. She lived for better. So yeah, it's a poignant.
We're making history. We're ending racism. You know what I'm saying? Yes. Like we're fighting against racism, and we're passionate. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we're in the right direction. Like we're not trying to tear nobody down. You know what I mean? Like, that's why the movement is until we're all free. I'm convinced, and don't get me wrong. I get it. A lot of people out there for Black lives. I feel you, but I'm convinced that it's going to take all of us.
Yes.
Because until we're all free, none of us are free. Yes. And the idea that the Hispanics, like we're for all of them. That's why I got Marissa on here today, because it's not just Black for us. You know what I'm saying? It's not just white for us. It's trans, it's Hispanic, it's Muslim, it's Arabic, it's Indian, it's Iraqi, it's Canadian, like it's whoever, like we're in this together, and as Black people though, in America, we definitely deserve to be heard. Yeah, we're looking to make it so the generations to come in the Hudson Valley don't have to go through what we went through that day on July 18th, right? Absolutely. We're getting things established. We're getting legislation done. We're lobbying town halls together. We're because it's not just marching, right?
Yes.
Right. Protesting is one thing of this, right? Going out in the streets, having your voice be heard. That's one thing. Like there's so many things to do that if you don't feel comfortable or safe or for whatever reason to be out on those streets, there are plenty of places for you in this fight to get against racism, against the oppressors. And yeah, enough is enough. Enough is enough.
Mm-hmm.
I know that my grandmother didn't go through what she went through just for me to lay on my back and act like, this is not a problem. That generational wealth isn't real. That my ancestors weren't promised reparations and didn't get them. See, now that's a whole nother right. They don't want to talk. People be like, what do you mean reparations? You weren't a slave. Yeah. I'm like, well, my ancestors were promised something that they weren't given, and that's why y'all are profiting off of this. Like, it takes a lot. Now that's the part where they need to start doing their research. You know what I'm saying? Like I've heard a lot of people talk about how, don't bother Black people with asking them questions. Well, that's one of those questions that you can Google. Now, but like asking like, what's it like being Black? Like, I'm open for that conversation. What's it like being a woman? You're open for that conversation. What's it like being trans? I think those are conversations that we should be open to having. We need to have dialect, but like things like, oh, why do you deserve reparations? Google works. Google reparations, and you'll see why what's the 13th Amendment? Google works. You know what I'm saying? Like, certain things, I feel like they can Google, people can Google, and other things I get why you would want to come and ask me. Right. Mm-hmm. And the fact that we still have segregation in Dutchess County, the schools. I'm not, and I'm new to, I was researching that. See what I'm saying? I went to and I'm like, so the school districts, the way things are like cut, how people have like districts here, districts there, they made it so that inner city population is segregated and limited to their resources and not able to go to other school districts without paying an even higher school tax. Yeah. Our Black children are being fueled into the school to prison pipeline in Poughkeepsie. Yes. Which is so real, that school to prison pipe, like even even through virtual learning. Yes. Yes. It's so, and this is why we're out here. We're fighting for reform. Our Black children, they deserve better. Yes. They deserve better. There's no ifs, and or buts about it. Right. And we're living in a time where it's been so far gone. It's been so far embedded that the Constitution says this, and this is what's legal, and this, and this is what we're going to stand on, that so much time has gone by, so much reform and so many adjustments to the Constitution have been made that you can't get around the fact that at the end of the day, it applies to all Americans. And if you're born in America, whether you're brown or whether you're Chinese or whatever you are, if you're born in America, that piece of paper applies to you. Yeah. So why is it still, some people think that they can say one thing about one race, but if someone else says something that they're now in trouble? Or my big thing is, so many people can drive around with Trump flags on the back of their trucks, American flags on the back of their trucks, but you wear a Black Lives Matter mask and now you're the devil, and now you're Antifa, and now you're this, and now you're a thug, but your freedom of speech applies to you, but the Constitution says that I'm still covered, so why is my freedom of speech not okay? Now you're riding on personal opinion. So when you see children in the classroom where the Black child's put over there and the white children are playing in a circle over there, that is, again, a constitutional issue. You said that we all have the right to have an education, but inside the building, your opinions are keeping one race suppressed and one race superior. Yeah, but your piece of paper, your founding piece of paper says that we're all equal. So here's the issue. You have to go after, you have to change the mindset. You have to change the narrative, change the talking points. Because at the end of the day, we're all allowed to be here. We're all allowed at the party. Right. So I know Jane Elliott, like, I don't know if you know about Jane Elliott, but she'll ask a group of people, would any of y'all want to be Black? Right. Well, sure enough, they don't want to be Black. You know what I'm saying? Because we're getting treated like 3/5 of a person. Mm-hmm. You know, and the segregation is still happening in New York, in Dutchess County. The Department of Education wrote a research paper on segregation in New York, and Dutchess County remains one of the last counties in the United States with deliberate educational segregation. That was never discussed. It was never designated during Brown versus Board of Education. Yeah. The Dutchess County needs to address segregation still, and it has yet to be. And it's 2020. The school systems are still being segregated, and we're still getting treated less than. New York, people want to think New York is just You know what I mean? Like, and then we're like caught in the middle, right? Because just for anybody listening from other states, Albany is the capital of New York, not New York City, right?
That's right.
So Albany's like right up here, and then like Hudson Valley's like right down here, and then there's like New York City. So like we're smack dab in the middle of so much.
Yes.
And yet, you know, you want to tell me that the Hudson Valley is a place of civil rights?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we need more civil rights action here, and that's what we're about. You know, getting that stuff to do. There's so much work to do when it comes to civil rights, you know, and that's why I pride myself and I love being about civil rights activism, because it doesn't just seclude, you know, one population. Like, you know, I really feel like it includes us all, you know, and that's my love. That's my passion. I love the civil rights. I love the idea of civil rights movements. And, you know, in order to protect the next generation of young people, there's going to need to be some more civil rights activists out there and things like that, and some more action going on in the schools. I know that's something that we're looking at, and we're you know, trying to close out Pleasant Valley though, because boy, Pleasant Valley, what a time that was.
Yes, it was.
Did you get to talk about your experience at all about what happened that day to you? Is there anything you want to share with me?
Oh my gosh, Pleasant Valley.
What a day, right? What a day.
It was. we went there. I've been to countless protests, so protest didn't mean nothing to me. So I went there, another protest, no big deal. A bunch of racists around, no big deal. Right. But like literally, when you're down there, when we were down there by the baseball field, we could hear them screaming and yelling on the street, and that was almost a quarter mile away from where we were standing. So you could literally feel the hatred coming off, the heat off the street. Yeah. So it was something that like you only see on TV. Like the video that I have and I made sure I was not taking my phone off of anybody's face. I saw you to the point where I was thinking to myself that if this phone gets snatched right now, what am I gonna do? Dang. But it's all right. It didn't get touched. So, but it was surreal because just the fingers being pointed and just it was very loud, and it was like being in words can't even describe it, because we were just sitting there on the back. I was in the back, and when I looked and I saw the front being attacked, and I turned behind me, and the back wall was coming, and it included police. When you see a wall of
Trump supporters,
racial epithets coming at you, and anger and red eyeballs, it was like monsters. Like if anyone read that book, what do you call that book with the monsters? Dang it, forget it. I'll remember at 2 a.m. Yeah, you know what I mean. But like he went to the island, there was like just monsters of different sizes and different shapes, and they all had the red and yellow eyeballs. That's exactly what it was like. I'm not exaggerating. You can look at the video. There were guys, men and women, they're so angry. Their eyes were red, beet red. Their faces were beet red with anger. They were spitting when they talked, and they were pointing their fingers. And one guy almost tripped. He was so angry trying to get it out. And they were on the sidewalk screaming, and one lady dropped her sign and she was so angry. It was anger that was not necessary. It was not a Trump versus whoever else issue. It was you people are brown and we don't want you there, and that's it. Get out of our town, brown people. That's what I heard. Yep. And it's something that
you'll never forget. You will never forget that one.
You'll never forget. You're traumatized, because if you watch the videos from the 60s, like the Chicago fires and the riots when John Lewis got bit by a dog, it's the same thing. Only difference is ours are in Technicolor. That's the only difference. Yeah. So history repeating itself 100%. What we saw out there was, it was terrifying. As a black person, it was terrifying.
I'm telling you, that's my experience. I gotta get out of Pleasant Valley. I can't wait. I still like. I think everybody gets a little like, like dang, a little choked up, like kind of like, oh wow, the memories just start rushing, right?
Yes.
Like the memories just start rushing back to me. Like I think about that day, and as the leader of that event, I'll never forget, coming out from that dugout, doing like we always do. No justice, no peace. What do we want? And then I come up and I'm like, yo, they're in the road. They're on the sidewalk. Like, they're angry. Like, so they really came here like they said they would. I'm like, wow, this is intense. I felt like I was, definitely back in the 1960s, marching across the bridge on Selma, like met with the Klan. Literally, like, because only thing missing was the Confederate flags, and I'm surprised nobody brought one, but that's the new modern.
And you know what? I've gone to Klan rallies, and I say that loosely because in Kingston, Kingston used to allow the Klan to march back in, I want to say like 99. Oh, no. Let me see, like early 2000s. Kingston allowed the Klan to march because the Grand Wizard, there's one that lives in Montgomery and there's one that lived in Woodstock at the time. So they would have their marches regularly. Once a month, the Klan marched through Kingston. They always had their speeches at the Kingston High School. And my uncle, who's very, very dark-skinned, he would always take me over there. And we would stand across the street at the hot dog place, and we would watch them march down the road, and we'd watch them go to the high school. And they had their full robes on. The Grand Wizard was in full red. And just like in the history books, it was the Klan. So it was surreal to stand out there as a black kid, a black teenager, a black 20-something, to watch your neighbors, police department members, post office workers out there, Heil Satan, Heil white power, Heil whatever they're howling. And it's this, the same narrative that we're hearing now. Blacks are ruining the suburbs, and the evil blacks are coming after your children. They're coming after your white women. And the same narrative I heard, but it was different. And I say that because it was a Klan rally and the town knew what was going on, but it was not violent. It was the Klan because they had their freedom of speech. They had their permits and they were allowed to march. And the ones that were against them stood across the street. We watched and we talked our smack, and that was it. They went home and we went home. It was and they knew we were there.
And
all you had to do was turn around and see us.
I get it,
Right. They knew we were there. It was never there they go, let's get them. It was never that. So to see the difference between the Klan, the true hood covering Klan, and black people in the same area be peaceful, and now 10 years later, they can't even allow us to stand on the street. And they're not even in their full robes. They won't even admit that they're in the Klan. They won't even stand up and say that they're whatever organization, white nationalists or whatever they are. But the difference is that I was doing the same thing I did when I was a kid, just standing there.
Yeah.
The difference is that 10 years apart, now they attack. They can't handle it. But back then, imagine a Grand Wizard looking at a black person and just walking right past.
Yeah.
Nothing, no issue, no screaming anything. It was done. Their march was over and they left. Nowadays,
that's modern day Klan.
We didn't even get out of the code yet. And we were already the issue. Just because they knew we were in the area, it was an issue. So that's the difference now. It's not that anything changed. It's just now they're more unrighteously angry. And for what? When your fathers and your mothers before you, your racist ancestors before you were more peaceful.
Yeah.
So the issue now is violence. That's the difference.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It is. That is. I agree. I think that it starts at the top, and I think that the president of the United States right now, Donald Trump, however anybody want to call him, I'm not going to disrespect him, blatantly, but the president, it starts at the top. The way he allows this country to be ran. I mean, he has power and he's used his power. He has power again, and he could use it, but he decides not to. Kind of just like the Dutchess County Sheriff's Department did that day. They had authority over that situation, and they allowed it to continue, saying that they didn't see anything. And I saw a question about somebody asked, do we know who the counter protesters were organized by? Yes, the counter protesters on July 18th were organized by the Dutchess County Conservative Party, the party of faith and high moral compass, planned and enticed violence that day. Okay, it was the Dutchess County Conservative Party. Okay, high moral compass and faith. That party, that's what they like to say they're about, and that's what they came out and did. It was planned violence. I think Marissa, I had let you know, and you actually had donated some of the refreshments that day, and I had let you know about the violence that was possibly going to occur. I had said, listen, it looks like they're going to be there, and it doesn't look like they're going to come nice. I kind of let people know, like, it might be a little different this time. Things might not go like how they normally do. It might not be that cakewalk or that, that party line where we're all just, out there, having a good, like, I don't know about you, but ever since then, like any march I go to, don't get me wrong, I'm glad to be there and it's fun and it's great. It's just it's just so much more pleasure. It's like a breeze. It's like, wow, this is what it's supposed to be like. This is what it feels like when your First Amendment right is being upheld to the Constitution rather than being, totally denied. Like, I feel like that day we got denied our First Amendment right, on the streets of my hometown,
Yep. Right, I agree.
We got a lot of work to do as Black people. We really do. We have a lot of work to do as Black people and to restore the moral compass of this country. I feel like, that's definitely what we've always been, building back this country and building it in the right direction. As Black people, this country was built by us. Duchess Cat, yike, a bunch of race.
Yes,
What's up, Anita? Thank you so much for coming on here today and supporting the conversation and being a part of. You already know where to go and join, and we've spoken offline, so I really hope to hear from you and your son. Okay, you have my email address, sweetie. You're not alone out here. So yeah, feel free to reach out. Jessica, they feel emboldened since a giant racist sits in office. Yes. Kelly, that's one of my very good friends and a volunteer as well. She said, that's right, Kelly, we all have a lot of work to do. Thank you. That is so true. I don't feel like it's only us, it shouldn't just be put on Black people. You're right. It's all of us, Kelly. We all have a lot of work to do to end racism, to eradicate racism. Allyship with our marginalized community is so important. Creating those bridges, building those bonds, allowing them space, allowing people who aren't Black to be in spaces with Black people. I don't like how people try to white guilt people, because it's just as we're not responsible for X, Y, and Z. I am my own person. I can control what I do and how I treat people and how I raise my things like that. So we're not out here to white guilt or any of that guilt. We need everybody to win this fight. So if you're willing to, be a part of this fight, it doesn't matter. Once again, what race, gender, creed, sexuality you are. You're welcome here. We need us all. It's going to take us all to fight against this opposition. We will fight until we're all free. Okay, until we're all free, none of us are free, right? Until we're all free, none of us are free. And Marissa, I want to thank you so much for coming on here with me. I hope to have you back on again. I look forward to, working with you on future things and calls to action. You did a great job. Thank you so much.
You're very, very welcome. And anything that you need to do, anything that needs to be said, trust me, I like to talk. So I'll be right out there as loud as I can be saying what I got to say. Because I honestly feel that it takes a few, how do I say this? Like-minded folks to get this, keep going forward. It's not so much, things may die down, cameras may turn off, things may go silent for a while, but as long as those who are still fighting in the dark can still keep pushing, I think that's important, and that's my mission. So listen, whatever you guys need, whoever needs to talk or want to converse with me, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, do you have any handles that you want to put out there, like your tags or anything you want to, so people can follow you or anything?
I'm not really connected to anybody. It's so funny. People ask me that. I'm like, you got a card? No, I'm just chilling. But
You might have to get one. You might have to sign up and join, as an official volunteer on Until We're All Free and get you a business card.
for sure,
We'll talk
for
about
sure.
that for sure. I would love for you to be,
Yes.
more in part of. Oh yeah, people like
Definitely.
you. There's a
I'm
place.
definitely on Facebook. If anyone wants to find me on Facebook, I'm always at most of the protests. I'm always in Kingston.
Yeah.
We're doing cop watch now because of the stop and frisk going on up there. I'm a community person. I'm always in Dutchess County giving out clothing and food to the homeless. Um, I'm easily to find.
What's your Facebook handle?
Oh, Facebook. Let me see. My name on Facebook is Marissa Joy, MARISAJOY. That's my handle on there. You can find me. I'm on Royal's page. I don't think I'm friends with Janelle just yet, but I'm in the Until We Are Free page. If you want to go on any of the protesting pages, I'm there talking crap. Any of the anti-Trump pages, I'm there talking crap. So I'm quite all over the place. Also, if you're ever in Highland, I have a publishing company, Anointed Ink Publishing. So if you happen to see the Adopt a Highway sign,
Anointed
it says,
Ink.
yes, Anointed Ink Publishing, the Adopt a Highway sign on 9W in Highland. That's my business. That's my sign. It looks beautiful because I be out there cleaning. So if you guys ever need a book published or anything, I'm there for you. So I'm out there for the community, with the community, by the community. So yeah, I'm there. You can look me up.
Thank you, Marissa. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you, sweetie. And thank you all for, tuning in and participating on the Until We're All Free Town Hall. I want everybody to know that, you are appreciated, you are loved, and you are heard, and you are felt, and that you have a place. We all have a place in this fight towards liberation, and bridging gaps and bridging communities together is something that I'm very passionate about. And being a part of communities who are marginalized and having their voices be heard. And I'm a part of a community. I'm a part of many communities, right? I'm a Black trans veteran, and I serve this country proudly. And Friday was 9/11, and it's a day that I think that we won't ever forget, and we'll always remember and look back on and think about where we were. And I remember that I was, in middle school when that had happened, and I could have sworn, I saw a plane fly by when I was, out there that morning, and I was like, that plane's a little low, but I was a kid, I really didn't think twice of it. And then shortly after, we were boarding up windows, and teachers were on their phones, and just everybody went home early. And my mother picked me up, and she had told me what had happened, and it was very sad. But the unity that came from that, the patriotism, the pride, wow. I've never felt like this country has ever been more unified. Where me personally, in my time living, the way we all came together, and color didn't matter, gender didn't matter, sexuality didn't matter. It was like America, America, right? and that's a beautiful thing. Through all that, we came together and we made it through. And I just want to thank everybody that served during that time, and send my condolences out to anybody who lost somebody that they loved or cared about. This 9/11 on Friday, some things had happened on Radio Kingston. And before I go there, I just want to say, thank you for everybody for supporting me. What I'm about to say, is it's been very emotional and turbulent. So hold on one second. So just bear with me as I My computers did a little thing, so just bear with me. It's been very emotional. It's been very turbulent. This week, everything has escalated to the point where our well-being has been very much impacted. I'm going to be taking a step back from a lot of engagement until I'm in a better space, right? So I wanted, people to know that, right now I'm focused on moving and furthering our civic engagement efforts. After what happened in Pleasant Valley, after, the people that know, and we talked about it, encountering racism face on by the Dutchess County Conservative Party, we are moving. Since then, there has been a slander campaign against my name and my organization until we're all free. It was ran against my mother and I regarding our GoFundMe donations, right? On the radio show, the hosts, multiple hosts, that means the host, the co-host, and guest stated that my family was using the GoFundMe donations for my transition surgeries. That is unequivocally false information. That is not true. This has hurt me and has offended me deeply. Radio Kingston is where this claim, this lie, this false allegation, this slander was also smeared on. The cost of these surgeries were covered through my insurance. The costs were covered by my insurance. And the costs were well over $50,000. The insurance, $50,000. The money that I got donated to my GoFundMe and my family's, my mother, who is the beneficiary, is being used to buy a home. We are going to purchase a home. And the work we are doing to end racism in Dutchess County, right? I'm putting this money into good places to help end racism in Dutchess County and to buy a home for my family and I. None of this money has gone towards my transition. None of this money will be going towards my transition. The donated money on my GoFundMe and my family's will be donated, will be used to purchase a house, and will also be used to end racism in Dutchess County. My surgery was done through my insurance. It cost over $50,000 for me to get top surgery. For a radio station to allow and participate in a slander campaign, it's not right. People like myself, transgender people, Black people, veterans on 9/11, marginalized communities. It's not right. They participated in a slander campaign, and this has been taken up with the FCC. Okay? Discrimination and derogatory comments in any fashion are not okay. That's an AM/FM broadcast channel. That's not somebody's podcast. That's Radio Kingston. The host of the show, and I quote, "Royal purchased a penis with his GoFundMe money." That's right. They brought up my private areas on a radio show. I won't allow it. For the future generations of people who are transgender, this false narrative shall not continue. The fact that I have to come out and speak about this publicly as a result of their actions is deeply disturbing to both my mother and I. On 9/11, they attacked and helped smear campaign a veteran, a transgender person. On top of that, all that trauma that I'm dealing with, now this. Radio Kingston, a progressive radio? Radio Kingston helped a smear campaign, a slander smear campaign. They smeared it. Yes, we know. Please do write them. It's Radio Kingston. It's Radio Kingston. Radio Kingston. It's been very, very tough times. I like I said, bear with me because it's very hard to talk about, right? Going through things like this, and being put out there like that, having my own personal business talked about by other people, and lies, false claims, allegations. None of that is true. None of it. I should have the right to talk about my privacy and my personal affairs myself. The reason these events occurred is because my family is being blackmailed. We were told that if we do not give the GoFundMe donations to certain people, that they would run a smear campaign on my family. Yeah. I've been getting harassed. I've been sexually harassed. I've been told what to do with the donations of my GoFundMe money, or I will be put on blast and exploited in a fashion that is slander and defamation, because it's all lies. None of that is true. As I stated, my surgery was paid for by my insurance. The GoFundMe money is being used to buy a house and help end racism in Dutchess County. We did not give in to those demands. We will not give in to those demands. We notified the radio station, Radio Kingston, the host, beforehand in writing of things that would occur, possibly, and things that have occurred. We let them know the agenda of the people that were on the show that day. They knowingly allowed and participated in this campaign. They knew. I was in contact with the host. I told them, I emailed them, and they still allowed and participated in that campaign against a Black trans veteran on 9/11. The radio show host said my name, said Royal purchased a penis with the GoFundMe money. They said that. They brought my privates, a transgender person's penis, into a conversation about a rally in Pleasant Valley. They were going to blackmail me. And because I didn't give in, because I wouldn't give the donation money that was given to my family and I, this happened because we refused to meet those people's demands. We refused. That money was donated to my family and I so that we can have a safe haven and help end racism in Dutchess County. My transition surgery was paid for by my insurance company. Over $50,000. Radio Kingston facilitated this entire event, this entire campaign. They facilitated it. They wanted to be a part of it. I let them know. And they still facilitated it. Somebody like myself, somebody like you don't deserve that. I need you all to know that, right? I need you all to know that nobody deserves to be treated like that. And that until we're all free, as a CEO, we will not tolerate that, and we support you. That things like that shouldn't be happening, and we will not allow to happen. I will not allow myself to get blackmailed and harassed and sexually harassed. My family and we will not allow it. You shouldn't allow people to treat you like that either. So if you need any assistance or help, feel free to reach out. Join us. Because there's a place for you where you can get treated equally and fairly. This reason I'm having this conversation is because so many people have reached out after hearing what happened on the radio and listening in to the live broadcast on Radio Kingston. I was at work when this happened, and this has severely distressed me. The phone calls, the text messages, the emails, like, what's going on, Royal? None of this would have happened, right, if I had been a cis white male veteran. None of this. A cisgender white guy veteran would never happen to him, right? They attacked me as a black transgender veteran. How much more do you need to see before you open your eyes? Help us end racism in Dutchess County. Click the link. I have them in my bio. I have them all over my page for Until We're All Free. The support is needed, and I thank you all for your continued support. Thank you for tuning in. And I hope all of you enjoy the rest of your weekend. As we go into our next week, you can be sure to find us here again on Sunday, okay, at 8. And thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining.